Colbeck. What he said. No. Doesn't he sound like he should be running for office or serving in office somewhere? No pressure, Bob, but you speak a heck of a lot better than I do. I want to thank everybody for coming here today, and thank all the candidates for running. A lot of folks are already serving right now, and I know where you guys, what butterflies are going through right now, and all the fun that you're thinking about leading up to the election. Believe me, I've been there. And I really thank you for the willingness to go off and serve. I really appreciate it. This is one of those election cycles unlike any other election cycle, I think it's fair to say. How many of you guys are tired of riding the roller coaster on this one? Yeah, I'm definitely tired of it myself. Up and down the ballot, we got a challenge, especially in this area here, right in the Northville, in the Plymouth Northville area. And it starts with the top of the ticket, and there's some challenges right now. I don't know if you guys know the voter demographics that happen here in Northville, but this is a pretty high turnout for John Kasich in the primary. There's a lot of folks who voted for John Kasich that are not too thrilled about our current candidate that's in there right now, which is translating down ballot. And so this is something that we have to work on and get people revved up. And I'm one of those folks that I was in the Cruz camp. As you guys, many of you know, I was state chair for Ted Cruz and passionate about the man. I really liked everything he stood for, but I'm going to vote for Donald Trump this time. And if you're wondering if there are folks that are on the fence that aren't really interested in getting out and voting up and down the ballot on it, keep in mind that there's 5,000 people that president is responsible for putting into office. The first one that Trump selected is pretty dang good, if you ask me, and that's Governor Mike Pence. And so that bodes well. We've also got Supreme Court candidates that are going to be factoring into this. We've got federal judges at every level as well that factor into that appointment. And I guarantee you that the 5,000 that Donald Trump is going to appoint to office are going to blow away the 5,000 that Hillary Clinton would go off and put into office. And now, having said that, I feel a little bit guilty because pretty much the only way any of the 5,000 she's going to put into any position would get a job is if she appointed them. So I'm feeling a little bit of guilt on that. But the key thing is we need to make sure that we get everybody out. And like it or not, especially during the presidential election cycle, it starts at the top of the ticket and getting people out there and shaking the trees and getting out and voting and getting them excited about voting, okay? So if nothing else, I think Bob put it best on one of his Facebook posts, remember the Supreme Court, remember the Supreme Court, remember the Supreme Court. It is very important. And we've got a few judges in the audience here. So when we actually get into rule of law and we actually abide by the Constitution, frankly, from my perspective, it wouldn't be as important because we still got a lot of civics education to go off and do. Supreme Court's assuming much larger role than it was ever intended by our founding fathers. But having said that, they're assuming that role right now because we're letting them assume that role, and it is very important that we go off and get some conservative Supreme Court justices appointed. And we got a much better chance on that side, especially with the 21 that Donald Trump's already identified, than what we'd ever see with Hillary Clinton. So please get people out to vote. I know John Kasich hasn't come out and supported Trump right now, so that means that all the people that may have supported him in our district are still kind of maybe sitting back on their heels. We need to get them motivated and getting out and voting and making sure that they not only vote for president, but they also vote up and down the ticket for all of our other good candidates that are out there. So please, I'm saying this as somebody who had a long refractory period after the primary here, but we know what we need to go off and do, and I just encourage everybody to get out there and help our candidates up and down the ticket. And I don't say that easily, I don't say that lightly. Anybody who's followed me means that I don't go off and just hit the button because that's what everybody tells me to go off and do. This is something that's really important, and I appreciate you all giving good consideration to getting people out to vote. Not just getting yourself out to vote, but getting everybody else out to vote this election. I do not want to face a November 9th and say that we didn't do everything we could to go off and get people across the finish line that are going to serve us well. So now that being said, I don't know how much else we want to go into some of the stuff that's happening here in Michigan. Just so you know, we're Senate's back in session for the next 3 days here, so it's been kind of light for the most part, but there's a lot of things up on the table. Policy-wise, everything from electric choice, which affects a lot of people here, including the Northville School District, because this is a case where if they ratchet down the choice, well, we take advantage of electric choice in Northville schools to actually get a better deal on our electricity rates, and it means quite a bit of money. You can probably give me
several $100,000 a year.
Yep. So, hey, we gotta turn off those lights a little bit more, you know. Hi, wait a second here. No, just so we've got some serious business that's coming up here. There's a lot of stuff around taxation and TIFs. Okay, anybody know what a TIF is besides if you're not sitting at this table? Anybody hear of a TIF? Yeah.
Index? Inflation index?
No.
No?
That's right.
Yeah, this is one of those cool little acronyms you only learn when you're in Lansing or in local municipality here. It's called tax incremental financing. All right, and there's actually a lot of TIFs over TIFs, believe it or not, and it gets into how do you go off and kick off a development project if you don't have the money for kicking that off at the beginning. So you go off and say, hey, well, as I start collecting taxes on it, then I can start paying for some of the remediation efforts, that kind of stuff. So it's actually a financial tool for a lot of for the locals. That's important. That kind of stuff is coming up here as well. But that's not that exciting, right? But one thing I will point out that is pretty exciting that I'm working on that does affect the locals, it affects our schools, it affects the state government, and frankly, it affects every employer that's out here is dealing with healthcare. So if we want to talk about big issues that hit everybody across the board, I would submit healthcare is probably one of the most important things you can zero in on. How many people are seeing their premiums decrease this October? How many of you are seeing your deductible limit decrease? How many are seeing your coverage expanded? Almost got you on that, Dennis. All right. No, it's going the wrong direction, right? So my wife and I just got back from a conference out in Dallas. It's a bunch of free market healthcare entrepreneurs and innovators around direct primary care services. There are solutions out there that can save us money on healthcare, not just stem the increase, but actually decrease the cost while actually improving the quality of care. And it's around this direct primary care and self-funded insurance options. There are ways to go off and improve all of our lot. And just to put this in context, state of Michigan, our Medicaid budget is $17.5 billion per year, right? 20% saving, which is conservative on these direct primary care based approaches. Okay, who's good at their math? How much does that calculate to? Come on, who hasn't had Common Core yet? 3.5 billion, there we go. Treasurer, no. I know. The $3.5 billion, that's a good chunk of change in the state budget, right? And 40% of it's state funding. If you go off into the locals, we're over 108, for state employees it's $180 million, right to the bottom line from general fund. If you go into the locals, it's north of $200 million across the board if we all got 20% off on our health care. This is a big deal. If you go into the private sector, it's $6 billion savings for the employers in our state. Think that'll be a job magnet if they can sit there and be cost competitive with all the other states and actually lower their cost of doing business here? This is a big deal. So encourage you. I was thankful the folks out at Northville Township Zoo and Bob and all the gang helped us kick off a town hall where we talked about this with people recently, and it's kind of a big deal. And we got doctors talking to employers, and if we can get this thing going through statewide, not only will we be getting better health care, but we're going to save taxpayers a boatload of money. So, so if you want a unifying issue, whatever camp you're in the presidential era or anything else, healthcare should be a biggie that we can all kind of rally around. Understanding that before Obamacare, we had what? Hillary Care. You guys remember that? Okay, I know, it's good. You guys have suppressed that memory. I understand it. I'm with you on that. But if you think that Obamacare is going to be going into the direction of free market if she gets into office, think again. Our only hope to get things back under control, and this is seriously a matter of life and death for a lot of people. The way that they implement the healthcare policies that they're doing right now is by rationing care. In other words, by decreasing the quality of care. I've got people that I respect quite a bit that are conservative, that are getting up there beyond 65 and 70, that are resigned to the fact that, well, you know, my warranty's up now, so I'm just going to go off and take a pill and move on. That's pathetic, but that actually is happening. People are getting dumbed into thinking that good enough is good enough. No, I'm not going to stand for that, and nobody in this room should stand for that as well, all right? So if you need one issue to unify around, please consider the healthcare issue. So final remarks, final thoughts, and we'll get to the folks that are really important today, the folks that are running for office now that need your attention and need your support, is that please get out there and help them right now. I always talk about the need for air cover and ground cover, right? Air cover is financial contributions that for some reason, I don't know why it is, but people don't give yard signs out for free, or don't let you send mail for free, and don't let you print out cool looking flyers for free. It costs money. So please help out wherever you can on that. Second of all, ground troops. So the ground support is people going off and doing the knocking on the doors, finding new congregation members, knocking on the door, and saying hello and getting to know the community. And I wish it wasn't just, you know, once every 2 years that we did that. We should be talking to our neighbors all the time and getting them out and engaging them in politics. But please consider getting engaged on both of those with all of our folks that are out here. There's a lot of work left to be done. And I just want to end by just saying thank you to Bob Cushman and the whole Northville Republican Club. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that you were just a little acorn. Now you sprouted up into a very powerful and meaningful organization here in Northville. And I can't tell you how important that is, because my hometown is in Canton, right? And we kind of fell asleep at the wheel a little bit for a while there, and the Canton Democratic Club has come into the community and established themselves as a kind of a juggernaut right now. You guys are stemming the tide on that with this Northville Republican Club, and hats off to you. Please continue to support it, and please continue to support your candidates, and let's have a very good celebratory election season on November 8th, okay? Thank you guys very much for your time.